What if the only way to survive the crushing reality of who you are is to invent someone entirely different? Someone from outer space with crimson hair, a lightning bolt split across their face, and silk boots that touch the ground like an alien conqueror. Before, he was the alien messiah Ziggy Stardust. Before, he was the ghostly thin white dude, and long before he ruled a labyrinth as the Goblin King. He was just David Robert Jones, a skinny, quiet kid from working class South London carrying a heavy family shadow, a permanently damaged eye, and an obsessive need to transform. Hello, fellow artists and art lovers. Welcome back to episode 4 of Paint and Chats. I am so thrilled you're joining me in the studio today. I'm your host, Alexandre, but you can call me Aimée. Whether you're standing at your easel, blending oils, working on a delicate watercolor wash, sketching in your notebook, bedazzling, or relaxing on your daily commute, take a deep breath and settle in. Grab your brushes, prep your palette, and let's step into the studio together. Today, we are opening up the kaleidoscope on one of the most enigmatic, transformative, and fearless visual icons in human history, the legendary and iconic David Bowie. Today, we go all the way back to 40 Stansfield Road in Brixton, South London. It's January 8th, 1947, when David Robert Jones enters the world. His mother, Margaret Mary Peggy Burns, was a cinema usherette, and his father, who went by John Jones, was a publicity officer for Barbados Children's Charity. They were a working-class family, but under the quiet surface lay a deep family tragedy. Peggy's side of the family carried a severe history of mental illness. 3 of David's aunts suffered from schizophrenia or severe psychosis, and several were institutionalized. But the most pivotal figure in young David's life was his older maternal half-brother, Terry Burns. Terry was 10 years older, impossibly cool, and became David's hero. Terry introduced a young, impressionable David to modern jazz. Artists like Charles Mingus and John Coltrane, alongside beat poetry, Allen Ginsberg, and fringe literature. Terry opened David's mind to art, but Terry also inherited the family's schizophrenia. He suffered intense hallucinations and was eventually committed to Cane Hill Hospital. He would tragically die by taking his own life in 1985. For the rest of David Bowie's life, he carried a quiet, terrifying secret. He feared that the same madness was hiding in his own DNA. Creating distinct alter egos wasn't just an artistic gimmick. It was a psychological shield to ease his mind and keep his own sanity intact. Now, if you look at David's face, one detail instantly pulls you in. His eyes. Many assume he had 2 different colored eyes. But the truth of the story is a classic South London teenage drama. In 1962, when David was 15 years old, he got into a playground fistfight over a girl named Carol with his best friend George Underwood. George punched David square in the left eye while wearing a heavy ring on his finger. The blow made his left pupil remain permanently dilated for the rest of his life, giving him that distinct otherworldly look. One piercing blue eye and one deep, dark eye. Wildly enough, David and George remained lifelong best friends. George even went to design the iconic album artwork for Hunky Dory and the Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust. People often think Bowie was an instant superstar, but he spent nearly a decade failing repeatedly. In the mid-1960s, he recorded under the name Davy Jones, fronting mod bands like the Conrads and the King Bees. But an American band called the Monkees took off, featuring lead singer Davy Jones. To avoid the confusion, 19-year-old David changed his surname to Bowie, after the formidable 19th century American hunting knife. During those hungry years, Bowie immersed himself in the performing arts. He studied avant-garde mime and dance under the legendary theater director Lindsay Kemp. Lindsay didn't just teach David how to move. He taught him how to treat his body as a visual canvas. It was also during this period that David met his first wife, Mary Angela Barnett, known to the world as Angie Bowie in 1969, and who also appeared on Celebrity Big Brother. Actually, that was kind of crazy. When she appeared on Celebrity Big Brother was also when David Bowie passed away. So if you're chronically online, you've definitely seen that clip. David's dead. So yeah, iconic. I love that season of CBB. It was so good. Anyways, back to our story. Angie was a vibrant, fearless, and sharp-minded woman. She didn't just become his wife and mother to his son Duncan Jones, who was originally named Zoe Bowie, by the way. She became his stylist, business manager, and creative catalyst. Angie pushed David to embrace gender-bending fashion and help conceptualize his visual presence. Their marriage was an open and wild one. Bowie had numerous high-profile relationships and creative flings during this era, including a fiery affair with legendary singer and muse Dana Gillespie, punk icon Iggy Pop's circle, and a famous relationship with soul backup singer Ava Cherry. In 1969, Bowie achieved his first major hit with Space Oddity, released right alongside the Apollo 11 moon landing. But he didn't just want to be a singer. In 1972, he combined Japanese kabuki theater, sci-fi dystopian literature, and glitter rock to unleash Ziggy Stardust onto the world. Accompanied by his band, The Spiders from Mars, featuring guitarist Mick Ronson, Ziggy took over the world. But Bowie didn't drop the character when the show ended. He ate, slept, and lived as Ziggy. On July 1973, at the Hammersmith Odeon in London, the line between David's real identity and the alien rock star had blurred so dangerously that Bowie abruptly retired Ziggy live on stage, leaving his own bandmates and fans in absolute shock. After killing off Ziggy, Bowie moved to Los Angeles in 1974, entering the darkest chapter of his life. He became consumed by severe addiction, living on a terrifying diet consisting almost exclusively of cocaine, milk, and red peppers. His weight dropped to under 100 pounds. Paranoid and sleep-deprived, he filled his house with candles, was practicing occult rituals, and fearing witches were stealing his blood. Out of this darkness came his most chilling alter ego, the Thin White Duke. Dressed in a sharp black waistcoat, white shirt, and slick back hair, the Duke sang soul music with icy, aristocratic detachment. Realizing that Los Angeles was going to kill him, Bowie fled to America in 1976 and relocated to West Berlin, Germany. He moved into a modest apartment above an auto repair shop with his close friend Iggy Pop. Berlin was a city divided by the Cold War, gritty, quiet, and cheap. It was exactly what Bowie needed. He stripped away the makeup, kicked the heavy drugs, bought a bicycle to ride through the streets, visited art museums, and began painting expressionist portraits. Teaming up with visionary producers Brian and Tony, Bowie recorded his famous Berlin trilogy, which included the albums Low, Heroes, and Lodger. The title track Heroes was inspired by seeing Tony embrace his lover near the Berlin Wall and became a global anthem for hope. Berlin didn't just save Bowie's life, it reinvented modern music. In the 1980s, Bowie transformed once again, this time into a slick, blonde-haired mega pop star with his 1983 album Let's Dance, filling massive stadiums worldwide. And to an entire generation of 80s kids, he became immortal as the Goblin King in Jim Henson's 1986 fantasy classic Labyrinth. In October 1990, on a blind date in Los Angeles arranged by their stylists, David met the true love of his life, Somali supermodel and humanitarian Aimée. Bowie later said he was choosing the names for their children on the very first night they met. They married in Florence in 1992 and welcomed their daughter, Alexandria Lexi Zara Jones, in 2000. For 24 years, David and Iman shared a deeply loving private life in New York City away from the paparazzi. On January 8, 2016, on his 69th birthday, Bowie released his 26th studio album, Black Star. Just 2 days later, on January 10th, 2016, the world stood still as the news broke that David Bowie had passed away peacefully, surrounded by family, following a private 18-month battle with liver cancer. Black Star was his final, brilliant parting gift to the world. He turned his own departure into an immortal work of art. Bowie proved to us that we never have to fit into a single box. And you can reinvent yourself as many times as your soul requires. Thank you so much for spending time with me in the studio today on Paint and Chats. If you enjoyed this episode, let me know by subscribing, leaving me a comment, or whatever you need to do, and share with a friend maybe. Until next time, keep creating, stay fearless, and never be afraid to play with sound and vision.